how things have evolved or haven't evolved and where they need to be evolving. And so I want to kind of kick this off. When we were kind of talking about topics, this one was really interesting to me because it's something that we hear talked about all the time, right? There's all these Facebook groups and all of these forums, and people are saying, what do we need to be focusing on? Ultimately, at some point or another, the topic of how to decrease transaction times comes into the mix. So from your vantage point, why do we want to do this? Why is it important as we look to the future? And then I want to talk about some of the hows, like how do we get into that? So I want to turn that over to you. Why do we need to dramatically decrease transaction times?
Okay. This has been a focus of study and of training and of expertise and mastery for me for the last 3 to 5 years. So we've got a whole process built around this called flow. The major metrics behind that, there's a couple of them. If we look at profitability, obviously things are very competitive now. A lot of dealerships are using live market pricing, not just with used vehicles, but also with pre-owned. I just worked at a dealership for 2 weeks. I did everything from washing cars to the parts counter, service counter, selling cars, working the sales desk and doing F&I. And they had a promotion along with some manufacturer incentives of a 35% off their pickup trucks, what it amounted to. Next thing you know, another dealer figures that out and they do 36%. So customers have access to all this information. A lot of people now, Google started in 1996, it became the dominant search engine in 1999. I'm training people to sell cars, and I'm selling cars to individuals that have no concept of what life was like BG before Google. And if you actually study the psychology and even the brain mapping, brain plasticity and neuroplasticity, people, due to smartphones and technology, actually don't think the same way they think or thought 5 or 10 years ago. And if you go into a dealership and you look at their sales process, their teaching, and what a lot of other companies are still professing, it's a sales process that was designed in the 40s. Meet and greet, counsel qualify, selection, presentation, trial, close, F&I. Weave through that, stay off price, slow them down. And it's almost laughable when you're selling to a millennial and they're being brought through that or trying to train a millennial salesperson on that. Their brains don't work that way. So what I'll point to is a couple things. There's a bit of a sweet spot now, I would say around 50 minutes, where if you actually track the deals and the transactions in the showroom that are happening under an hour, if we have an average transaction time under an hour, and I'm still okay with salespeople taking 2 or 3 hours or 2 or 3 months to sell a car because not everybody's ready to buy a car when they come in, but a lot of people are.
Right.
And some people literally will close in 15 or 20 minutes. But the only transactions where I was going with that 35% and then 36% off thing, besides all the information the client has, the transactions on average where the dealerships are making money on the front end and back end, the most money, are transactions that happen shorter on the front end because the customer comes in pretty much transaction ready. We don't get in their way. We don't skip steps or speed things up, but you move right towards the close. There's obviously not a lot of time for objections. They obviously don't have a lot of questions. They're happy with whatever transaction price they saw online, maybe a little bit of an incentive, whatever that's going to be. And also for the F&I manager who's going to deal with that customer generally after the person in the showroom, ask any business manager, would you rather be talking to a customer that spent 2, 3, 4 hours buying a car? Or would you rather have a customer in front of you now that's only been taking, half an hour to an hour buying a car? So all the metrics from profitability, customer satisfaction, closing ratios, and F&I improve when transaction times drop. And I really encourage my clients to, just start paying attention to that because a lot of dealerships really are not cognizant and are not tracking transaction times. And it's one of the 2 most important metrics when I work with a client now that we pay attention to, that when we make a change in it, everything improves, including employee retention. I mean, a salesperson would much rather learn how to sell a car in 45 minutes versus 2 or 3, 4 hours. That's how salespeople are built. And right now, with the way customers are, most of us in every business we go to equate customer experience and, a great, experience any place. And when you say, what was so great about it? You say, they're so fast. It was so quick. It was so easy.
Right.
That's pretty much, if you think about any store we go to or go back into and you say, oh, it's a great restaurant. Why? Because they're on it. They're on point. It's quick. So we've got to kind of start mirroring what everybody's expectations are.